But if not, I'll try and find Faith. No, Faith is in a different room. Great. I want to invite Faith on as well. And the pair of them should come on and we'll have a wonderful conversation about this. Oh, by the way, for the people who are watching, I should really say this at the beginning of every session. If you have any questions for Stephen or Faith, or myself even, or about the topic, please ask them in the ask a question section at the bottom of the screen there. That's where we're going to collect together all the questions and we'll be able to dive into them. Easy way for us to sort that out. Okay, there they are, Stephen and Faith, and on brand as well. Fantastic. Stephen and Faith, can you hear me and can you hear each other?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Faith is a little bit muffled to me.
Yeah, I think you are, Faith. Can you say something again?
Yeah, is this better?
Yeah, I think just get a bit maybe close to it. You should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so for the folks who don't know you two, can you sort of just introduce yourself real quick and what it is you do and what it is that you want to talk about?
Sure. So I can start. I'm Faith Rothberg, and I'm the CEO of College Recruiter. At College Recruiter, we believe that every student or recent grad deserves a great career. And I have brought my lesser half, as Hung put it, with me, Stephen Rothberg. And why don't you introduce yourself, Stephen?
I am not Chad Sowash, and so people are going to be very, very happy during this half hour. I've seen him giving me some well-deserved shit in the comments, so we're good. So yeah, so I'm Stephen. I founded the business way back in '91. We were doing things like campus maps, added employment magazines. The internet came along in the mid '90s, and we basically migrated the business over to the internet. So it's like Faith was saying, it's a job search site for students and recent grads looking for part-time, seasonal, internship, and entry-level jobs. About 2.5 million use it a year.
Amazing. So what is it you guys want to talk about today?
The price of bread in Spain. No. So we thought that it would be kind of interesting to talk with you and your audience, Hung, about the student and recent graduate recruitment markets. Our customers are primarily employers that advertise their job openings, and most of them, again, are for students, like internship co-op programs, and what we call recent graduates, those with 0 to 3 years of experience. One of the interesting things that we see as kind of a canary in the coal mine, like a lot of entry-level hiring is that the timing of this pandemic could not have come at a worse time of the year for our audience, for the job seekers. Students are on the verge of starting their summer internships or part-time jobs or whatever. And those who graduate in the spring, which is the single largest hiring season or graduation season, they're also about to graduate. So there were a huge number of students, literally the majority in almost every country, that were about to start or just had started their job search, and also a sizable minority that had offers, were set to start, and some of those offers have been rescinded by the employers, and some of them are just some of those employers have just gone radio silent.
What do you do? I mean, we can understand from the employer side, because they've been hit by this. We all have a way to react. Probably they haven't reacted well. But what examples have you seen of how companies have handled this? And can we tease out some insights from those examples?
Yeah. Faith, do you want to go?
Yeah, let me take this one. Absolutely. Stephen and I have had the opportunity to talk to or listen to a number of employers, and I think many of them are trying to talk to each other to come up with ideas for what to do about their internship programs. Some of them have rescinded them, as Stephen has said, but many of them didn't want to do that, and we're looking for ways to keep them alive in some way. And one of the biggest things that they all started talking about was we need to get out there and talk to our potential interns, talk to our, especially the ones that had already been hired, interns and the grads to make sure they know we're all in this together, we're thinking about you, we just don't know exactly what to do. And many of them are doing things like delaying some of the start dates, changing some of the internship programs so that it might be not the ideal program that the candidate expected, but it is the idea that we all need to compromise and look at the other choices and see if we can come up with a way that works for the employer and works for the candidate while we're in this strange world of COVID-19.
This is really quite hard to give guidance to, isn't it? I mean, in the conversations that you've had with your customers, I mean, how have you handled this? Because I think that's also something that we should talk about, because we know, what the best practice is. This is what the great companies do, etc. But there's real reasons why that's hard for some organizations to do. So how do you guys sort of approach that situation as a vendor and as a supporter of these businesses?
Yeah, I was listening to Jerome Turnick of Smart Recruiters about an hour ago when he was on, and one of his pieces of advice is exactly what we're giving to our employers, but his accent is much nicer than mine. So I mean, Jerome basically
he makes it up, He's like I think he plays it up massively. He's been in the States a long time. He shouldn't speak like that anymore. But
he must have been in the Monty Python Holy Grail movie with the scene with the French soldiers in England with the outrageous French accent. But in all seriousness, the piece of advice that Jerome had is very similar to what we've been talking with our employer customers about, and that is just being honest and being transparent. So a couple of weeks ago, one of our customers said something to the effect of, I have not contacted the students who are scheduled to come to work for us yet this summer because I can't really tell them what we're going to do. And She didn't want to give them false hope. She didn't want to tell them or false pessimism. She wanted to give them accurate information. So her motivations were good, but her execution was horrible. You absolutely can control when you communicate with somebody, and you can, to a degree, control what you communicate. So you can send an email for free within minutes to hundreds of people. Just put them all in the BCC field, and you can say something to the effect of that. This is what's happening with the company, with the employer. Everybody's working remotely, or some people are working remotely, or some people aren't. We have a series of meetings to try to figure out what we're going to do with the internship program. And you can say to them, hey, today is Tuesday. Within 1 week, I will email you again with an update. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you an answer about whether the internship program is happening or when it's going to happen or what changes, but you absolutely, as a human being, can communicate to your candidates, to your employees, to your hires, that you are going to be giving them an update in a week. It's astounding to me. There have been some surveys through the National Association of Colleges and Employers that about a third of students and recent grads that have accepted offers have not heard from their employers. And that number should be zero. Just to acknowledge that we know you're out there, we know you're worried, we know this is a really difficult time. I will give you an update within a week. That's, if that's all you can do, that's fantastic still.
You know what? That's a really good point. And in fact, it's sort of it's at a microcosmic level, it's basically what bad recruiters do. Like, they fail to update when there's no news. And we're waiting for news to happen because you think, we can't come with the no news sort of info, like non-info, because that's not info. It's a waste of my time, waste of theirs. That's not the case. I think where stress comes from is ambiguity. Ambiguity is what creates the stress. So one of the main, you should over communicate at this point, even to the point where it may potentially piss people off, but this is what you should be doing rather than under communicate. because if you under communicate, people are going to fill in the gaps with their own hopes and fears and so on. And right now, that's not what you need. So that's a really interesting insight. What else would you say were kind of behaviors of a company doing this badly? What else have you spotted in your conversations there? Go ahead, Faith.
Well, so Hung, I was going to say the other thing that's really important that we are talking to customers about doing is it's not very hard to switch to remote work for many of these internships. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is what kinds of internships you can quickly change into remote. Many large corporations, which are a lot of our customers, they already have people telecommuting. It may be, they work remotely once a week from their home, so they have a lot of the software already. They have a lot of the process they use for when people work from home, and so it's not really as difficult as they might think to take those in-person internships and convert them to remote internships.
Sorry, Faith. I think there is a little bit of an audio issue there, which sort of causes me that maybe you wanted to say some more, but I think you finished your comment. But no, I totally get it. But the shift to remote is probably more of a psychological thing than anything else. I mean, the virtual internship has been around for a little while. I remember seeing some startups do this where basically, we've actually lost Faith. And we've lost.
She when we connected, it gave us an option of using an internal microphone or an external. She might be connecting to her external microphone.
I switched to my other microphone. Is it better?
Way better.
Much better. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was on my computer instead of on my nice microphone. So I apologize for that. For everybody who has to listen and try to listen hard at this time.
No worries, Faith. You're back with us, and actually, we've lost Steve's visual as well, which is probably a bonus, I guess. Is it? I don't know.
Dad's chat there that it's a bonus. Yeah.
Yes. We'd love to get your camera back if we can. Try and refresh and log back in. But as I was mentioning to you, Faith, the remote internships have been around for a little while. I remember seeing virtual internships actually. Some interesting startups probably are thinking, we could get some help, but we could also provide some genuine work experience for graduates or young people that perhaps can't afford to work on beans in New York. Typically, if you are working in a tech company in one of these big metropolitan centers, paying a salary is not just paying a salary. You got to pay the living costs for that. And if you're a young company, maybe you can't do that. But if you can offer it virtual, then you actually expand the opportunities for many more people to do. So on this point, is there a technical difficulty in shifting an internship to remote? Like, what is the problem there that you've encountered, that you've heard from customers coming back at you?
I do think that some of them are concerned about what it will take, because we're talking to talent acquisition folks, and then they need to have their hiring managers learn how to, get that employee to be remote and then manage that employee remotely, which is different than managing someone in person. One of the comments one of our customers made was that many of these managers are actually new managers in the company, and so they've never managed anybody remotely or virtually. There are some internship there are some companies out there that offer virtual internships where the platform helps the employer and the candidate and does a lot of the tracking of the candidate and things like that, so that there are options out there to help them change. I think the most important thing for employers to know, and I know that a lot of them are so concerned about this, is that if they just rescind all their internships, then it creates a problem in three ways. it affects their brand. And right now, I think people, I mean, you can hear it all out there in the recruitment world. You need to be a good citizen. You need to ensure that your brand is, that you're living up to some goodwill and creating goodwill with these young people. So when you just immediately rescind your internship, that's a big bubble that bursts. And next year when you go to campus, you're not going to look so good next to your competitor who decided not to rescind, but did something in between. Another reason is that a lot of these interns, they end up becoming new grads that you hire because you've tested them out, they've tested you out, they like you, they come on board. And when they're a new grad, they go through like a leadership development program. So many of these young people are the ones that are going to be your leaders as well. So not only do you lose a class, a lot of these large companies hire, 100 interns for the summer, you lose a whole class of them, but then you also end up with some, a break in your leadership teams. And so it's a trickle effect that can last for years. So taking the opportunity to do something in between, even if you shorten the internship or delay the start date for the new grad, but get something going. And even things like you're talking about paying people, even if you need to, that you give them some sort of pay, even if you can't employ them because of the type of internship. Maybe it has to be in a lab or something. And I've even heard the extreme, which is really cool, of pay them and then tell them to go out and find a way to help in the community right now, which I think is fabulous.
Let's talk about that example, because I remember, Stephen, in fact, we had this conversation. Let's talk about that. What is that company that did this and what are they doing?
Oh, so I haven't been trying to, I've been trying to find out, but I heard about it through a career service office that there is at least, well, they said 3. I haven't been able to identify one, but man, would I love to, because do they ever deserve a lot of praise? So there are probably at least 3 large employers in the US who require the work done by interns to be on site. So think, manufacturing facility, something along those lines. They don't want to have the interns on site this summer because of the risk of them getting sick. There's liability. Another thing that happens with students is that a lot of times the employers provide housing to them, and that housing is often in university dorms, and the universities are closed, the dorms aren't available. So there's literally nowhere for these people, even if they could fly or drive halfway across the country to do their internship, there's nowhere for them to stay. And even if there is somewhere for them to stay, it's just not safe. So what these employers are doing is they're saying to the students, you're not going to come and work for us this summer, but we're going to pay you as we agreed to pay you. You're going to stay in your home community and you're going to do your work remotely for nonprofits. And if you're in marketing, we're going to help you, or you can find a nonprofit that can use the help of somebody with a marketing degree or who's working toward a marketing degree. And then that for-profit, usually employer, will then work with that nonprofit over the summer to keep tabs on you. What skills do you have? What resources they can provide to you? At the end of the summer, there'll be a debrief with your manager at the nonprofit and the person who was supposed to be your manager at your employer. And the expectation is that, first of all, you've taken care of that student, and they're actually have money coming in the door. You're not only protecting your brand, but you're enhancing it. You've gone well beyond what you need to do, and that's going to be incredibly positive on campus next year. And then that student, in all likelihood, the experience that they've had this summer working for that nonprofit will be exceptional. And they're going to come to you next spring better qualified than they are now. So I just can't imagine a better outcome than a large for-profit corporation investing in its community and investing in its next hiring class by doing something along those lines. I've also heard from some other companies, and again, I'm trying to track them down. I don't know why the career service officers are afraid to share it, but they seem reluctant to share it. There are some other companies that are saying to the interns, look, it's not safe for you to come and work for us this summer, but you're heading into your last year. In the US, it's a senior year. In other countries, it's your fourth year. Same thing, your graduating year. We're going to pay you and for the summer. And instead of you being, like Faith was saying, essentially a temp to perm employee this summer, we're just going to extend a job offer to you now for upon graduation. So in April 2020, you have a job offer to start in May 2021. I learned a long time ago from the head of university relations for Tell Labs that the 3 R's of internships are recruiting, recruiting, and recruiting. That you don't recruit that intern if that intern doesn't get a job offer at the end of the summer and accept it, that internship is a failure. So there are definitely organizations out there that look at interns as just cheap labor.
Yeah.
And those are organizations that won't stand the test of time. And that's that, you underpay your employees, you end up getting what you pay for.
Can I just draw down on this one idea, especially this example? And let's track down this company first of all, because I think it's a wonderful example. But the idea of sending the intern out of your company to work in the community for 1 year and then bringing them back, they may in fact be more skilled as a result of that effort than getting them inside. And also you save on training costs, right? Why don't people do this anyway? It sounds like incredible. Maybe we've discovered something, you've got the talent, the raw talent is there. You've done it through the academic criteria. You figured out, okay, this person must be super smart. You get them in, but hey, I want this person to work in a retail organization, learn this stuff for a year. And by the time they come back, you've knocked out all of those sort of student foibles that employers complain about anyway.
Right, that some of us grow out of, and then there's me.
Some don't.
No, but this seems to me like it's one of those ideas where I wonder it might persist post-COVID, because it seems so obvious now to us to think about. You could do some amazing branding. Firstly, imagine you're a huge company with a bad brand. Let's say you're a bank or something, Goldman Sachs, or whatever it might be. Goldman Sachs have a decent, well, I have no idea who decent brand, but let's just take them as an example. They take the interns in. Year number 1, you know what? Or internships, only a summer. You're not going to work for the bank. What you're going to do, we're going to deploy you in these projects that we back and we value. That's going to be massive zooming up and building their brownie points globally to society, but also creating these ambassadors on the ground to these local communities that are suddenly learning a lot more than, the fetching and carrying that you do normally do as an intern. So I'm really enthusiastic about this idea. I think this could potentially be a business for somebody to connect, to basically convert an internships or graduate program into a community plus type program, and helping those companies just turnkey that solution, because there's a little bit of plugging and wiring that needs to be done for that to happen.
So I have a great idea, and I know, Faith, you're chomping at the bit too, but this is, I think what Hung just said, it just caused me to have a brainstorm in a good way. So Faith was what they call a scholar in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. It's basically after the 08-09 recession, when Goldman was not seen too kindly amongst many. They invested, I think, $200 million to bring in almost like a mini MBA program, 10,000 small business owners. And you apply, you're selected for the program, and it's 100% free. They fly you out to Babson, which is near Boston. It's one of the top entrepreneurship schools in the world. They provide you with financial training, and you build a business plan around what they call a growth product, which ended up becoming our biggest product a few years later. So it was really, really fantastic, a transformative program. What we should contact Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, Faith, and get Goldman Sachs to connect those big employers, including itself, with the small businesses in this program. Because if Goldman can't put all of its people to work, all of its interns and the clients that it represents, the big manufacturers, whatever, I bet you Goldman could connect those interns with the small businesses that are part of that 10,000 Small Businesses program.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
business idea has just been born on Brainfood Marathon, and we've got at least 68 witnesses for this.
And Hung gets 10%.
10%, 25. Come on, guys. I mean, come on. You know. No, but that's amazing and really, really good idea. You please make that happen. Like, someone reach out to Goldman Sachs. Let's make this happen. I see no reason why this shouldn't be the case. Listen, we're running short on time, but we have 2 questions that I want to jump into because I've ignored those questions really. Oh, Steve, you're asking yourself the question. Well, how does this make sense? Okay, we've got one from Naveen. Naveen, how are you doing? I really don't know how to pronounce your second name and never have, sir. I hope this is okay. Let's see what the question is. It is, Naveen is saying, how does one onboard remote / virtual interns or working students? What do you suggest? Actually, we never did answer this question, Faith. We kind of said, hey, listen, it's doable. What do you do? What's the process?
Okay, so just from personal experience, because our employees all work remotely. So when we onboard an employee, we go through all the HR stuff you need to do, and we can do it all virtually because you can sign everything online. You can send things in a secure way. So if you have to check their I-9, check their passport or their driver's license and social security number for their I-9, you can do all that stuff. Then part of onboarding is getting them on all the right software. And so you get that all working. One of the things about these interns, think about what age group they are, right? They have done all this kind of stuff for school. They work online all the time. They've, since high school, a lot of them have gotten things where they have to sign up and look at and put in their assignments and work on Google Docs together and all sorts of things that they're the easiest group to get on board with all this stuff because they have so much knowledge already. And so you get them signed up on everything. And then the way that you can train them is both. You want to do interpersonal stuff. You want to over communicate, like you talked about, Hung. So you want to use Zoom a lot, or some video conference, and you want to have a lot of face-to-face in the beginning to make sure that they know and feel comfortable and they're part of the team. And then you also can do one of the things we do a lot that's really a nice, easy way to train. And then you have it is we'll record a Zoom video of how to do stuff on a screen, how to do stuff in your software, and then send that to the employee, and then also walk through with them in the beginning and get them on board that way. So
can I just say that one thing? Basically, a screen how-to is one of the most effective ways to communicate information in this modern day. I don't know whether you guys got my Loom video to you or whether you watched it or not in terms of how to sign into the marathon and do that. But I watched it back myself and I thought, you know what? I thought that was a reasonable job of just showing it. So rather than me sort of send a document that's really hard or turgid to read, you can literally show the real experience, just record the damn thing, and people can work it out. Okay, listen, Stephen and Faith Rothberg, I've got to finish it off here. Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful having you on the show. We might have also jointly given birth. I want to share the birth with you 3 of a new business idea, which we should actually go and pursue. So everyone go ahead and do that. By the way, Vidyard is really good. Elena, you're quite correct. But we are going to the next session. It's going to be a fantastic talk. Either way it goes, because we've got either Lorna Borenstein, CEO of Grokka, who's going to give us a keynote, 30 minutes, or if Lorna cannot make it, and I think that's a possibility given the fact we've been chaotic through the latter half of this marathon. It's a miracle people are still getting on screen and talking to us. We might have Kyle Laguna swooping in on the wings as well. So we've got loads of good options there. Stephen and Faith, I hope you've enjoyed the marathon so far. Please continue to drop in or out. There's loads of good things to come. We'll see you all shortly, okay?
Great.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.